Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Estate Right Now, where we talk about real estate matters that matter to you. My name is Jay Izzo, and alongside me again this week is Senior Loan Lending Officer from Advantage Lending, Paul Fitz.
I have so many titles, senior lending, loan advisor.
I just make stuff up,
Yeah.
okay?
By the way, if you're at home watching right now on your laptop, do not adjust your screen. This is actually how we look.
We really do look this way, yeah. To this week's headlines, which we've done for a few weeks in a row, which has been kind of fun, actually, to see how the headlines change in real estate from week to week to week. I think it's kind of interesting.
You mean different sources of information lead to different?
We're going to talk about that because the first headline of the week, which everybody's kind of, which I find really interesting, that people get really, really interested in mortgage rates, right?
Every day.
And here's what's so interesting about this first headline, which I'm about to talk about. But I think the big thing for me has been, right, that they change every week.
They change every day.
They change every day.
They change every day.
But every week, as we're doing this, we see a different mortgage rate, and I think that's
a different headline
and a different headline. So let me give you this week's first headline. This week, mortgage rates stabilize is the headline at 6.19% after volatile March. After roller coaster month, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage cooled to 6.19% by April 8th. While rates bottomed near 5.95% earlier this year, the recent 40 basis point rebound has pulled about 4% of buying power from the market. Now, let me just say before we talk about this source, because we have everything sourced. This is not something that we go to AI and we just make up. We actually pull the sources.
I personally believe it's all made up.
Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine. You're the cynic of the group. But this comes from the ICE Mortgage Monitor and Norada Real Estate, the report. And this is the April 6th report, by the way, from ICE Mortgage Monitor.
2 days ago, Monday or whatever.
So 6.19%. Last week, it was 6.38%.
Mm-hmm.
And we had...
By the way, I said last week rates were higher than the 6.38 at that time.
At that time, right. And they're probably... do you think they'll...
Replay the show.
Yeah. So that's true. So, but here's what's interesting. Okay, so we got a little drop in rates, right? A little. No?
You don't see me. I
mean...
What kind of drop are we looking at?
It's a little. I mean, if we were
according to the headlines.
Yeah, well, according to this source.
Now read the other part of the story where it said rates almost pierced
7%. So okay, so there was
same headline.
It was the headline that we had earlier was mortgage rates take a breather at 6.19%.
19. That's what it says.
This is being called a breather because it follows volatile March where rates threatened to breach 7%.
Okay, so this week's headline says that rates threaten to breach 7%.
No. What it said was that this is being called a breather because it follows a volatile March, so last month.
Well,
okay, where rates threatened to breach 7%.
Correct.
So in March, they threatened to breach it.
Now, again, if you read the prior week's headlines, it says that rates were at 6.3%.
6.38, yeah.
Which were the highest of the year.
Right.
So how is that possible that we're
okay. No, I get what you're saying. This is okay.
One headline says they almost breached 7%.
Right, and
the other headline just a week 7 days prior. This is an all-time high of the year at 6.38.
Okay. All right. This is a good point.
Okay.
Because here's what I want to say, and this is really
misinformation.
No. Okay. Well, here's the thing.
Headlines, fake news.
It depends. Here's the thing, and I think this is a really good point that people have to be careful of. And that is that every news source probably has some sort of bias.
I agree.
Depending, and I say this because whoever writes the piece,
sure.
Right. So let's say whoever it is that writes the piece, if they're trying to bring in more readers, right, to their source, what do they do? Well, it's called clickbait.
100%.
And it does not have to be
headlines sell tires at the end of the day. Right?
And so when they say almost breach 7%, right? Which, by the way, doesn't say which doesn't say it made it to 7%, but it says almost breach. Well, what is
did
that?
It breach 6.5?
Well, that's the point. The point is, it didn't necessarily how they write that piece is really, really critical to the viewer to understand, because when we look at it from the second source, right, that I have here, it's not even referring to that.
Correct.
So I have one written source that says what almost breach is 7%. Yeah. And yet, and last week it said the highest was 6.38.
Right.
So which you said was actually even inaccurate because it was really 6.4.
Half point plus march 6.625 of a margin.
Right.
Where two different news sources want to tell you where rates are. And then one of them is even saying it's below 6.25 now.
So if, and this is where people have, this is where listen, you guys have to be careful out there, because you'll read this stuff and then what you do is you run with it and you go, oh, well, this is so much better because it almost breached 7%. Well, that's not, it didn't even breach it. We're still under 6.5.
Pick up the phone and call today.
Call him. Yeah. He'll tell you what the rate is. Okay. But these headlines can sometimes be very sensationalized.
Yes.
And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to lure you in. And listen, let's be honest. I interviewed,
because I like to lie every day.
I've interviewed people in the media, and one person got kicked out of the media because she was trying to tell the truth. And
they didn't like that.
They didn't like it because what bleeds leads.
Okay.
Right. So the more they can sensationalize a headline, the
more tires they can sell.
Well, and you know what? We are a society that is drawn to tragedy, not to positivity.
I'm not disagreeing.
Right. So if they say, right, by the way,
was that Don Henley song? Dirty Laundry?
Dirty Laundry.
Was that, or Glenn Fry? Who was it?
It was Don Henley.
Don Henley, that's right. It was Dirty Laundry.
Yeah, Dirty Laundry. Yeah.
Dirty laundry. The more dirty laundry you have in the news or in the media or whatever,
great.
You will get people to pay attention, and you will get people to read that headline. And then from that headline, by the way, there's a clickbait in there for weight loss at the same time.
Well, right. And so what happens is,
forget the weight loss.
Well, because here's the thing that you all have to keep in mind whenever we give these headlines, and we have to be aware of it. And that is that we have to kind of separate out the sensationalism of the headline from the reality and the actual fact. Right. The actual fact is that by April 8th, which was actually April 6th, right? By April 8th, because we do these for the week, rates got down to 6.19%. That doesn't mean that's today.
According to that.
According to the Mortgage Monitor.
They're not.
The Mortgage Monitor.
Depending on.
April 6th. Right, was 6.19%. Norada Real Estate 6.19% was the quote that they quoted.
So, however, they're coming up with the rate.
Well, and by the way, here's the other thing,
because it's probably an amalgamated formula.
No, it
has to be.
I'll tell you how it happens.
Okay,
they find one lender.
God,
they find one lender who's offering 6.19%. Right. That doesn't necessarily mean
they didn't tell you that. By the way, you need 3 origination points to buy down the rate. To get to that.
There could be a number of things that go into that.
They just found a dude.
So this is where people have to be very, very careful about what they're reading and what they're consuming. Because
what was that line in Ocean's 11? I know a guy.
I know a guy who knows a guy.
I know a guy.
I know a guy who knows a guy.
You know a guy.
So I mean, we have to be careful. So let's just talk about the reality. So it said. April 6th report, according to ICE Mortgage Monitor, 6.19%.
Yeah, whatever.
Did you get 6.19?
Not on a conventional rate at all. It's not even close, right?
Okay,
now.
So what did you get a 6.19%? Do you think?
If I could do a 6.19, it would probably be an FHA, somebody with pretty high credit scores.
Right. So
Govy rates are right now different than conventional rates, but the majority of time that they talk in these articles, they're always talking about conventional conforming rates.
Right. So this is the thing is, are they talking about a conventional rate with somebody who has an extremely high credit score
plus buy down?
Maybe. I
paying
mean,
down origination fees
well,
to get that rate.
they're saying fixed rate mortgage cooled
Sure.
to 6.19. They didn't say anything about buy down.
Of course not. Why would they?
And then while rates bottom,
Sources say,
well, I mean, so what?
But you follow where I'm going with this, right?
Well, so what is the rate that you quoted yesterday?
On a 30-year fixed conventional was 6.625 yesterday.
6.625.
So a half point higher than.
So a half point basically than what we're saying here.
And what's that saying? Yeah.
So what's saying here?
And then yesterday for a FHA, I did 5.99.
Right. So are they maybe taking the average of things across the board?
I'm wondering if it's an amalgamated rate,
right,
and even using a buy down to make it seem like it's the entire rate overall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're getting an FHA below 6, right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got a conventional rate that's 6.625, and you throw in other things across the board. I don't know if they take the median, the mean, or the mode. I don't know how they.
I don't know how they do it.
So that's the thing, is I don't know how they arrive at these. And this is what's really important for the listener,
right,
and the viewer, is be very, very careful before you go out and say, "Well, I just read."
Right. Oh, that was what started the phone call conversation yesterday when I said it was 6.6. Well, I read it was 6.44. Dude read yesterday was 6.44.
Right. Well, and then
this is saying
6.19 as of April 6th.
Right.
So I mean, and this is why we do these headlines.
I should have a 6 dartboard, 5 dartboard.
Well, but this is why we do this show. The reason why we do the show is because what we're trying to do is inform people that even though we have sources that put this out here, doesn't mean that it's
a reality.
It's a reality, right, because you're
reality for you.
That's absolutely right.
Your credit scores could be lower than the other person's credit scores.
Right.
Your income, your debt to income ratios might be a different number than somebody else's debt to income. I want people to look at mortgage lenders. And I know this in some people's mind, this may be a bad analogy, but the truth is we mortgage lenders are doctors at this. If Jay walks into the doctor's office and they say, "Hey, Jay, you've got," you've got 400 doctors that you have, by the way. And Jay's got tennis elbow today. If I go into the same doctor, that doctor is going to tell me, "Oh, Paul, well, you actually have a knee issue." He's not going to prescribe us. He's not going to diagnose us the same.
Right.
And we as mortgage lenders, honestly, if we give you blanket advice without looking at your life and looking at your debt load and looking at your income, if we just give you blanket advice, we're truly committing malpractice. Right. And when you see, headlines that just, quote out a rate and it says, "Hey, great news, the rates have dropped down to 6.19 today." I'm telling you, it is a blanket way for clickbait, for somebody to just get you to pick up the phone and call them. And then when they start giving you the details of the situation, you're going to be at a disadvantage at that point.
I totally agree. And I think this is reason, I think it was a great way to start the show, because I think what people have to understand is when we do these headlines, right, and we get them and we get source from them, it is not to tell you that this is what's actually happening. It's telling you this is what you're reading. And then it's up to us. Hopefully what we're doing is a good job to really kind of go, let's get at the truth of that whole thing.
Let's get to the root of it.
So that's really, really good way to start the show. I want to go to the second headline, which is right below it here that I have. And this comes from...
I stopped at the first one. I was like...
this comes from Mortgage News Daily and Bloomberg. And this is 10-year Treasury yield hits 4.44% before retreating. The yield on the 10-year Treasury note, the primary driver for mortgage rates, spiked to a high of 4.44% on April 7th, before settling back to 4.29%. So they're saying here that
April 7th was Tuesday.
2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Yeah. It was 4.4. And then they said in between then and now, it retreated back to 4.29.
Yes.
Some people want to suggest that it's part of investors are reacting, which is, by the way, these investors are emotional. Let's be honest. Reacting to geopolitical
you mean
shifts.
We don't have any Vulcans who are...
No, we don't do anything biologic. So I think what would be important here is, you've talked about this before, but I think there's people that listen to the show and watch the show going, okay, 10-year Treasury
What does that matter?
Why does
do I care?
Why should I care as a
Why should
consumer?
I care?
You know,
As a person who's about to buy a house or refinance a house, or you want a loan, a mortgage loan, you should care what the 10-year Treasury does.
Okay, well, explain the connection there for people again, so that they can kind of understand how that works.
There's no magic to rates, and by the way, it's not a Fed funds issue. People like to talk about the Fed, and then they talk about mortgage rates. The bond market is where mortgage rates are derived. In other words, debt, our treasuries are debt. Everything that we talk about when it comes to 10-year yield, 30-year yield, whatever, it's still debt. These are our treasuries. It's our debt. Mortgages are a debt. They're tied directly to the treasury market. If you want to have a lower interest rate on your house, watch that 10-year treasury yield. Jay had just said that treasury yield spiked up to 4.44. The reason why is because people thought there was going to be an imminent attack on Iran.
Right.
And Trump said, okay, no, we're calling it off. We're backing it off. And the minute that happened, then all of a sudden people started buying treasuries again. And it was a direct correlation to geopolitical issues at that time. Yeah. Even though we're talking 2 days. I mean, so it may change today. It may cool again today.
So, so this is what's interesting.
Well, the stock market yesterday, 1,300 points up?
Yeah.
Again, it was because of news of the
ceasefire.
Ceasefire.
Exactly. Right. So let me ask you this: when we see the 10-year Treasury, it spikes up to 4.44% and then drops down to 4.29% in 2 days, right? Which I don't know how significant that is, but when you see,
it's a significant move.
So what does that ultimately mean to you when you see a drop like that? What does that indicate to you at that point? Is it just that it's an emotional market, as you just reiterated, or is it something in terms of, is this a good time for you to get in to treasury bonds? How do you evaluate that?
But
difference?
what was that move? Really, in real world scenarios, what was that move? That move was possibly an eighth lower in interest rates, meaning that if rates yesterday were at 6.5, then that move in a 15 basis point move in the 10-year Treasury yield basically brought 30-year fixed interest rates down by an eighth. So instead of 6.5, it was 6 3/8. I'm just using numbers. I'm not telling you what they were, but the move signifies what we call flight to safety, or even the breather that you had mentioned earlier. In other words, people may have been selling treasuries, preparing for the imminent attack on Iran. And then when, we decided not to go in for another attack on Iran, all of a sudden people said, okay, now I can put my money back in the markets. They put them in the stock markets yesterday, and they put them in the bond markets yesterday. Right. So people were buying everything. It wasn't just some things. Again, market moves, though, are highly emotional.
Right.
So therefore, depending on what is going on in what sector of the market will depend on, what moves next. Hopefully, we will see a continuing trend in buying treasuries. If we do that, then you'll see the alleviation of rates in the market.
Good. Okay. Hopefully that helped you, right? Well, you can always reach out.
Everybody's like, I have no idea. That was great.
Well, you know what? Listen, you got more questions, go to PFITS, PFITTS @advantagelending.com. And he will be happy to give you more details.
I will tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not.
Yeah,
too.
Whatever that may be. Let's go to a third headline here. Okay. And this is according to the Intercontinental Exchange Mortgage Monitor. That's the ICE monitor.
ICE?
Yeah, this is why you have to be very careful. Right? Yeah, this is
canceled.
Intercontinental Exchange Mortgage Monitor is the source here.
That's what they're using.
They're trying to avoid that.
Sure.
They're trying to avoid that. Trust me, because it used to be called the ICE report. It's now they're really going into the either say the letters or go Intercontinental Exchange Mortgage Monitor.
Good to know.
Spring market sees firmest price gains in a year. The April 6th report revealed that despite rate swings, March saw the strongest monthly home price gains in nearly 12 months.
Okay.
Interestingly, 99 out of 100 largest markets are now more affordable than they were a year ago. What do you make of that? What do you think this means? Does this mean that now that people, you have an opportunity here as a buyer that you should be really pushing your chips in to go in and start getting?
I still think I say this all the time and all the time. You shouldn't be buying. You shouldn't be waiting to buy on anything ever. And people now at this moment, they're like, well, I've been waiting long enough. I should get in. You should have gotten in last year. You should have gotten in the year before. I mean, if your life and everything, all of the things align in your life where you should be buying, you shouldn't wait on rates and you shouldn't wait on a market. You should buy today, because every single day that you wait, you're losing money in equity every single day. But to say that, so a year-over-year scenario such as this, it just says that there's more stabilization in the market. I think it kind of replays going to the. We had some serious job layoffs, but the majority of those job layoffs were governmental. I really do feel like some people were out in the market. They were actually double dipping. They were working remote jobs, and they were doing two. And as long as they could check in at the same time, they get paid by both jobs. I really feel like right now is a strong market stabilization. I still feel like this is a buyer's market. To even prove it's still a buyer's market, I still don't have any contracts that have no concessions whatsoever. Either A, price reduction, or B, the seller is paying closing costs. I'm still seeing that on every single contract that comes across my desk.
So, okay, so these are really good other indicators that you're bringing up here. So I think oftentimes what happens is we'll take a headline, we maybe could pull it out of context, but then when you get into what you're looking at from your perspective of what you're seeing and how contracts come in, those small details are actually probably more of a accurate view of the market, simply because you're saying, look, concessions are a big deal.
Still getting them. Yeah.
So if I'm still getting concessions, in the mortgage,
if it were a seller's market, I wouldn't see any concessions.
This is exactly.
I would see high due diligence fees.
So when we were in the COVID era, right? How many concessions did we see? Zero.
Purchase price was being bid up by 10, 20, 100,000 over list price. That was a seller's market.
Right.
We are not there.
And we saw due diligences increase.
Weaponized. I use that word properly. Due diligence was weaponized.
Well, it was increased way beyond
weaponized.
And we're now seeing due diligence
almost nothing.
Drop down to,
depending on the price of the house.
These are really, really critical, important. I don't want to call them breadcrumbs because I think they're bigger than breadcrumbs, but they're important little pieces to the bigger picture.
Correct.
That people have to pay attention to, which is why when we see a generalized headline like this,
right,
again, we've got to back away from it a little bit. Okay, what's my local mortgage lender seeing?
Yeah.
Right. What's my local real estate professional seeing? Right. Yeah. Because when the mortgage or the real estate professional is writing contracts, they're adjusting to the market. So they're not writing the contracts in the same way. Right. Because, we're actually seeing sellers, right? Here's a little, I hate using the word breadcrumb, but a little breadcrumb, but we've actually had houses that have been on the market a long time that haven't sold.
Right.
And we've had, I think it's one out of three houses that were on the market, I think was reported as we're getting price reductions.
I will say that it really depends on the price point. I think right now, if you want to be a seller in a price point that has very little reduction to very little concession, you're going to be somewhere between the $700 million price range in this market. There's that activity is even having multiple offer situations.
Sure.
That kind of thing. Right.
But
under the 700, it's 6 and under, there's still a little sweating going on.
Right.
And then when you get over the million, 1.4, 1.5, they're going to be on the market for 2 months.
They're going to be longer.
Every single time.
Right.
So again,
which by the way is a dramatic shift since you and I started in this business.
Correct.
So I mean,
how many $1 million properties do we have?
Well, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that was.
We'd brag about that nowadays.
Now that's just normal.
Yeah. That's that neighborhood.
Right. That's just the neighborhood. So I mean, it's a very different world.
Yeah.
And so we encourage you. This is what Paul and I are doing. We're encouraging you. Why we do these headlines. Again, we're trying to give you some of the insights into why some of these headlines.
But don't let the headline drive you.
Right. That's the point here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to, again, this comes from the Intercontinental Exchange Mortgage Monitor.
What's the acronym?
Yeah, ICE. This inventory rebound, active listings up 8% year over year.
Okay.
Housing inventory rose 8% this March compared to 2025, while a positive sign, supply levels, and this is how they write it. While a positive sign, supply levels still roughly 11% before pre-pandemic 2017 to 2019 norms. Okay. Now, let me just say something about this. We are seeing clearly that we're seeing more inventory. We're seeing more inventory.
Sure.
Now,
it depends on where.
Yeah, but I don't know how many people are really going, well, it's not as high as 2017 to 2019. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking of, more like, okay, well, we had no inventory, very little inventory, and the inventory is increasing. That to me is what's really important, because this leads into exactly the same thing that you just said before. With an increased inventory, there's fewer. Sellers are willing to concede a little bit more.
Correct, and with more inventory comes a more normalized market.
Right.
And it's funny, you can't make housing affordable unless you make it available. And the only way to do that is, new construction. But primary new construction is going to be outer areas. In other words, You're not going to be in the city of Raleigh looking at a subdivision with 300 homes. It's just not possible. There's no tracts of land for that.
And I am so glad you talked about.
I brought you into it.
You segued me into the next headline about new homes. This is from NAHB, which is National Association of Home Builders.
I don't know how to do it, by the way.
National Association of Home Builders. This is the headline: the historic price flip, new versus resale homes. Mm-hmm. In a rare market shift, new construction homes are now priced competitively with, or even lower than, resale homes in many markets. Here's the kicker. Listen. As builders use 4.99% rate buy downs.
Yeah. That, you know how much money and concessions it takes to even get to that?
No,
I mean, you're talking 20 grand in concessions. Right. So not only are they trying to be priced competitively, they're also giving you enough money in concessions, which will pay down the rate for a temporary, I say a temporary, I mean, depending on how long you live in the house, but to pay down the rate to get it to something where you say, hey, 4.99, oh my God, I could really make that more affordable now at this point.
Right.
But the truth is, again, where are you going to buy these new construction houses? They're going to be in outer areas. They're not going to be located in bigger cities and whatnot. And I'm not knocking it.
No,
it's going to be a drive towards, suburb living, so to speak.
Well, and even as we see in our greater Research Triangle Park, Raleigh, we're doing the show from Raleigh, North Carolina, but we have this area called the Research Triangle Park, which is made up basically of Chapel Hill, Durham, and some of the other surrounding communities.
You want to call Cary and Morrisville?
Morrisville, Wake Forest.
I would
throw that in there too. I would say anything around the 540 outer loop is all part of that, which I would include parts of Clayton and maybe in Fuquay-Varina.
Anywhere where you're really going to see tech and biotech.
Well, this is the thing. When I first moved here, there was no 540 outer loop. There was just a 440 belt line. Right. Around the city of Raleigh proper. Then as we've expanded, we now have this 540 outer loop, right, to make things even.
Take it all the way to the 264 bypass now, because guess what they're doing out there?
I know.
They're almost completing it. They're working on it now as we speak.
And by the way, so what they're trying to do is, because new homes are being pushed further out, because we don't have any more space to build here, new home communities.
We don't have any space in Raleigh?
Well, no, we don't have any space to build a new home community, right? So now we have to have infrastructure to connect it, because most people are working in the RTP area.
Roads, sewer, water. What else do you need to know?
Right.
Yeah.
So when we hear that builders are doing a 4.99% buy down rate to attract buyers,
that's in Wendell.
Right. That's what we're saying, which is how far from where we sit right now?
20 minutes. 20 minutes as long as there's no 25 minutes.
25,
as long as there's no traffic.
Minutes, right? As long as there's no traffic, 25 minutes, right? So think about that. So if you're driving to the RTP, which is out by Durham,
it's another 25 minutes.
Which is another time. You're talking, if you live out in Wendell,
it's an hour drive.
But
not in rush hour. It is not,
not in rush hour, but
hour and 40 minutes.
But that's the point. The point is, does the 4.99%,
does it make it attractive to you to live out there?
To go to say, okay, I got to get up an hour earlier or more to get to where I want to be.
It depends. Now, you got dudes, seasoned people are our age.
Right.
Seasoned.
Yeah.
Good word.
I like that word far better than old.
So you get seasoned people our age at this point, and you know that you're productive from home. You can work from home all the live long day and still be as productive as you are in the office. And you want to say, you know what? I've lived in Raleigh for 20 plus years. I want to move out. I want that 4.99% interest rate. I don't have to drive to the office every single day to sit in traffic. And therefore, it looks more attractive for people, my age or a little bit old. It makes sense. Why not move out? Why not, have either a smaller house or a different location? As long as you have a Chick-fil-A and a Starbucks, wherever you are, what else do you need at that point?
Yeah. I think
those are shameless plug. I don't even go to Starbucks.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. By the way, I don't care for their coffee. If you want to be a sponsor of the show.
Yeah. It's totally different. We'll drink it in front of everybody.
But I will be honest with you. I'm not.
It's right across the street. Bring them over. We'll advertise.
I'm not a big, huge fan. But I do.
Meanwhile, Big B will be calling next.
But I do think though that this idea that new homes are becoming competitive with resales based on buy downs.
They're trying to again.
Here's the question. Here's the question just popped in my head.
Sure.
Is this a permanent buy down for 30 years?
Probably.
Okay. So
because again, think about it. Okay. Like I stated earlier, if you do a FHA right now today at 5.99, you're talking about buying the rate down by a point, but it's not just it takes one origination fee might buy it down by a quarter. 4 origination fees might buy it down by a full point at that point. So in other words, that's about, it could be 16 to 20 grand to buy down the rate to get it to there.
Right.
Okay. But it also tells you that some of these new home communities have homes that have been on their balance sheets for a while. And they need to move the inventory.
Yeah.
I have stated for more than a year that there is more value in the resale property than there is the new home property. But now new home properties are bringing down the price and giving you the incentives to try to make it a 1-to-1. So they're both having the same value at this point.
It's really interesting at how, we see this shift. I just find it fascinating. The longer I'm in real estate, the more, and I'm around it, the more I go, wow.
But what happened during COVID? During COVID, new construction was like, new construction didn't even want to pay real estate agents a normal commission.
No,
they were like, hey, no, whatever, we're building this house, we're selling it at X. We're not going to give you a damn thing if you want our property, and cutting the real estate commission on top of it.
Right. We were seeing that.
Correct. Now this is okay. Well, that was X, and now we're in Y today.
So now it's a different change.
Totally different.
So interesting how that shifts, isn't it?
Totally different from what it was.
This is an interesting topic I'm about to bring up. This comes from the Enterprise Community Partners and the National Apartment Association, the NAA.
Okay.
And multifamily insurance crisis named top operational risk. And I have people who I don't know how many investor people that do, like
apartment
quadplex, a quadplex or a duplex, or maybe in a larger apartment complex. But the insurance premiums have spiked 55% to get this 228% in some regions since 2020. This is now the number one concern for multifamily owners as it eats into revenue far faster than the interest rate hikes. So this is something that, I have people who are interested in going, what I'd like to do.
You've had the insurance guys like Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce. Right. But here's the thing. People want to go like, I know somebody, for instance, not in this area, who wants to purchase his first home and own one of a quad. He wants to buy a quadplex, but he wants to own one of them, right? So that he can live in one as his primary residence.
Yeah, he can do that.
Which means he gets
3 rentals.
Right, which he gets 3 rentals, but he also gets a better insurance rate because he's living there, correct?
Better interest rate and a better insurance rate.
And, right, so now if these insurance premiums,
depending on the price of the house, he could even do it FHA.
Right, that's the point, right? Because what we've seen, I just saw this a couple of days ago, FHA limits are
on a quad way higher than they are on a single family.
It's over $1 million, I think, right? Like 1.2 somewhere in there.
I can't remember, 1.1 something.
1.1.
Yep.
It's
up there.
It's over $1 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's room here that you can get an FHA.
Absolutely.
As an
owner-occupied
property,
knowing that one day you're probably going to turn your unit into a rental too.
But it's your primary residence.
Yeah.
$1+ million.
Sure.
Right. You get
3.5% down.
Get a
3.5%
down. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a buying opportunity.
100%. Yeah.
But then the question becomes, what's the insurance going to cost me if they've spiked this high?
Yeah.
Can I still make money, or how do I make that happen? Am I going to still
before I buy that property, knowing that I'm going to rent out the other 3 units? I have to figure out what the rental income for that area or what the rental on a property would be in that area anyway. And if I do the numbers and I have to subsidize rent for somebody, regardless of the insurance, just the interest rate, taxes, everything that go into it at that point. If I buy this property and I'm thinking, okay, if I rent out 3 units at $1,500 a piece, that's $4,500 a month in income, plus my unit itself as well. Is it enough to one day walk away from my unit knowing that I can rent all 4 in that market and still make enough money to cover the mortgage as I walk away? That's the important thing to ask. Insurance is a driving factor, but taxes are a factor. I mean, everything is a factor in this as well. The interest rate, the guy might be better off. And I'm never a fan of paying down interest rate. I'm never a fan of buying down interest rates, by the way. But the guy might be better off actually buying his rate down by a point to, again, know what his rental market is on that.
Because it's an investment property.
Correct. He's doing it as an investment to hopefully make income as well as gain appreciation on the value of the property.
Which is interesting that in this situation, you would actually even consider it, because I know that you're not a big fan of buy downs.
I'm hardly ever a fan of buy downs.
Yeah.
Hardly ever.
Yeah.
I try to talk people out of it.
Right. But in this instance, it may be
advantageous because, again, he's trying to rent out other
because he's trying to rent out other.
He's trying to use it as a business model as well.
So now what you've done is you've kind of leveraged yourself a little bit better here in terms of an income producing opportunity.
And again, I talk about the charts. I always love to talk about charts. 200 years of interest rates. Normalized market is under 6. Even more normalized under that is still 5% for the majority of time in our 200-year history. If you're buying today, that means the odds are you're going to be able to refinance to a 5% or lower, in the future, which will save him more money, because if he buys that property as an FHA, he may even streamline refinance that property one day to bring it down by another point, and again, make more money, keep his renters at the same payment every month, and make more money on the rental income because he's brought down the price of them, or the cost of the mortgage every month.
But here's the thing I think we're really saying here is that, if you're going in to purchase your first home as a first-time home buyer, this idea of buying living in a quad or a tri or a duplex, whatever it may be, this may be a great opportunity for you.
But you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. Just because it says FHA doesn't mean it's for a first-time home buyer. You might be in a situation, you may have lived in a house for 20 years and outgrown that house, or gotten married while you're in that house, and you have a conventional loan on that house. You can go into the next house as a quad and buy it as an FHA and put down 3.5%. Turning your current property, either selling it or turning it into a rental property, and then going into the next property saying, yes, it's going to be an owner-occupied property for me. I'll put down 3.5% and live in it.
Mm.
Don't have to be a first-time
Wow,
homeowner.
that just seems like just a great investment possibility for people.
Yeah, 100%. Why wouldn't they?
I mean, I love that as an investment opportunity. I just love that. I really do.
My wife would ever let me sell? That might be something. She's never going to let me sell. I'm going to die in that house, by the way.
All right, last headline, and we're saving our own clickbait for the end here. So,
where's that Starbucks coffee?
This is called the portable mortgage paradox.
Yeah.
Is now taking center stage. Okay, now this comes from.
You mean the 50-year mortgage is no longer center stage anymore?
We've gotten rid of the 51. No, that's just silly.
God,
so this comes from TDW magazine, and by the way, I want to give credit to where credit's due. This article is written by Derek Carlson on April 8th from TBBW magazine. Now, let me just say this: the fact that this guy's willing to put his name to it, I have total respect for.
Sure,
because you're willing to put yourself out there.
Sure.
So
float your idea out
right.
there.
Here's the debate. A major debate has emerged this week regarding portable mortgages, allowing sellers to keep their 3% mortgage rates when moving. Critics argue this would create a fragmented market where low rate haves have an quote unquote haves. And I did an air quote there for those of you who are listening.
They can see you, by the way.
Well, yeah, but for people listening to the podcast, they aren't going to see that. Have an unfair advantage over the open quote, close quote, have nots. I have not heard much about portable mortgages.
Well, first of all, they're not there yet. So,
but is this a real discussion?
I mean, it's been a discussion for a few years. I mean, I would say probably since 2022 or 2023, when the rates spiked 8.5%, was when the real discussions began. Well, why can't we just take the mortgage with us? And how does that really look? And I don't know. See, this is what I don't know, because when I tried to wrap my mind around a portable mortgage, right, of going, okay, I bought this house at 3%, and I'm going to sell this house, but I get to keep that mortgage to buy the next what's left on that mortgage.
Oh, I see. So it could be like if you paid it down by
$100,000 and you started off at $300,000 and now it's $200,000 mortgage at 3%, and you're going to go buy a $700,000 house, are you going to put $500,000 cash on that house and use the $200,000 3% mortgage? I mean, it's kind of the same argument as assumability, and I don't ever disagree with assumability. I don't.
But only certain mortgages qualify for being assumed.
Well, and even still, it's up to the servicer whether they'll allow the assumability or not.
Right.
So, but follow me on this, and because people like to use it as a selling feature. Hey, if you buy my house, you can assume this. Let's just call it a VA rate. Let's say I've got a VA loan on my house. Right. It's at 2.5%.
Right.
And if you buy my house, you can have my mortgage at 2.5%. All right. Well, what are you selling your house for? I'm selling my house for $1 million. Okay. What is the VA mortgage at? The VA mortgage is at $450,000. So you still have to come up with $550,000 for the difference between the two. So do you have it in cash? Do you think you can get a second mortgage for that? No, you're not getting a second mortgage. So how are you going to make up the difference? Again, it's always trying to say it's a great idea in theory, but practice is a totally different thing.
Yeah, this is where it kind of fell apart for me, because when I started thinking about, well, how would this actually work?
Right. How do I use this portable mortgage?
How do I use a portable mortgage to make it make sense? Right. Because it's like, okay, so let's take your example. Let's say I'm selling this house at $1 million. I still have $500,000 left on my mortgage.
$500,000 left. Yep.
So the person now has to, if they want that mortgage, it's not the $1 million they paid for it. It's the $1.5 million at 3%,
right?
Or whatever the
difference between the sale and the mortgage.
Yeah, I don't know.
But for the person who has it, who wants to take it with you, I want to take my whatever number mortgage it is now.
Right.
Let's say I did the mortgage at $500,000.
Right.
I've paid it down over the last few years. It's now $400,000.
Right.
I'm just numbers.
Right.
So I've paid it down to $400,000, but I'm going to go buy a $700,000 house. You better have $300,000 of cash. for the difference between the two. If you don't, you're not getting a second mortgage to make up the difference.
So I can't just pick up and take that. I've got to take that. I'm taking whatever's left on that mortgage with me to that next house.
And if you do that,
right,
in the portable world, right, if you do that, you better have the difference in cash. Right. Otherwise, nobody's going to give you a second mortgage to make up the difference.
So make sure that you paid your mortgage down within $100, and then
refinance that puppy,
and then go.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, again, it's a great discussion to be had. It's clickbait.
I mean, how real? I mean, how real is this?
Got to go through Congress, man. I mean,
is this right along the lines of the 50-year mortgage thing? Do you think?
Again, it's got to go through Congress.
Is this the same thing, or do you think there is some reality to this, that this could actually happen?
Yeah, everything begins with a discussion. Every law that we have on the books, it begins with a discussion. Right. Every single one. Again, the majority of all of our laws for Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, they still have to, we got a House Banking Committee. They review rules before they even go to the House floor for a vote. Right. So who knows if it will happen? I just think that the discussion of it is one thing, but the practical application of it to actually be a real thing is totally different.
I think it just falls apart too much. There's just.
It's great to say you have, like, again,
it's a neat idea, but it's just, I just don't see how this plays out.
Assumability is right now. You don't see a lot of people assuming mortgages. You just don't.
Right.
Because again, let's say a first-time home buyer wants to buy a $600,000 house, and I'm a veteran, and I'm like, hey man, you can assume my loan. Right. I have $400,000 on it. All you need is $200,000. Majority of time, the first-time home buyer is not going to have the $200,000. It's like trying to make all of it work to get it across the bridge. Meanwhile, that seller is missing 3 or 4 buyers who could have come by and said, no, man, I got this. I don't need your mortgage.
Right.
You know,
or the idea that you could take your mortgage with you is just, it just makes no sense, because if you're taking your mortgage with you, the idea that you're taking whatever's left on your mortgage to purchase the next house, I can't imagine, like, if I walked in and said, hey, Paul, I have $500,000 left on my 3% mortgage. And I want to buy this I want to buy $1.5 million.
Where's your million?
So can I just go ahead and qualify for $2 million on this house because it's 1.5 and I've got 500 left on my mortgage?
Or no, you're still, again, they're trying to qualify for $1 million loan to keep the $500,000 loan, or some variance of difference.
Right, because I'm trying to keep my 3% interest rate, and I want to make that portable to purchase my next home.
And you're gonna get another
one on top of it. Are you gonna do that? I mean, I just don't know who does that.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make sense.
That means they've got to be actually looking for a house that they can have some equity in and buy using their portable mortgage at the same time.
Which means that you've overpaid for the house, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And so, and I don't understand that it doesn't make sense to me that this could even work. And I appreciate, Derek, I appreciate the article that you wrote and that you put your name to it. And I think it's a fun little argument.
Yeah.
So
great conversation.
Yeah, great conversation. Thank you for doing that and for just being willing to put yourself out there. But I do think that as you and I are talking about it, and we're nobody, but in this,
you're nobody.
Okay, fine. But
I mean, put myself down.
But I mean, we don't have any influence over these things greatly, and I think the thing is, as we're talking about it, it just stops making sense after a while.
If you really want to factor in affordability, you should truly factor in the bond market and lowering interest rates that way. But what about the person who has lived in that house with that 3% mortgage? Okay. He's had the 3% mortgage for a while, but in that period of time, he's now got $60,000 of car debt. He's got $20,000 of credit card debt, and they all have higher interest rates, and he's focused on that 3%. Just super laser focused on that 3%.
That's
right?
A problem.
Yeah. I'm like, you can be penny wise and dollar dumb at the same time. Right. sell your house, take your profit, pay off your debt that has no tax deductibility, has no appreciation value. You know, it offers you nothing. Pay off your debt and then go buy a house that you can afford. And now that you know you're also debt free at the same time.
Or is this maybe a realistic thing to do since you have the 3% mortgage already and maybe you've accrued some other debt? Is
do an equity line and stay in the house.
Do an equity line and stay in the house.
Stay in the house.
Right? Stay in the house.
You make your whole life more affordable.
And you made your whole life more affordable because what you've done is you've used the equity line to pay off the car, pay off.
You'd be amazed. I mean, you'd be amazed. I have a couple I'm did a loan for this week, and they're selling a house. They're going to make $90,000, and on the sale of the property, they have they said we're going to put all this on the next house so we can make the payment cheaper. And I looked at all their debt. And I'm like, you guys have $40,000 worth of debt that you're paying $1,600 a month on.
Right, in interest. Right.
Pay off your debt. Put down X on the house. You'll save this much more every month between the two.
Right. So because what's the equity line going to cost you?
Yeah, the equity line is still going to be a payment, you know.
But how much is that?
And depending on what the debt is. So let's say the debt is $30,000, the equity line should be somewhere around $500 or $600 a month.
Right. And you're paying what in interest on your debt?
$1,600. Yeah, I mean whatever they're paying on the total of the debt.
You've just saved $1,100 by getting an equity line.
Stay home, put an equity line, bam.
Stay in the house. Get your equity
or
line.
If you're selling to buy and you're doing this and you want to put X on the next house, pay off your debt first. You save so much more money that way.
When you pay off the debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. This has been fun. You know, I didn't think it was going to go this way actually, but it always goes really fast. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
This has been a lot of fun as always. I've enjoyed these 3 weeks have been a lot of fun doing this with you. Actually, this has been a lot of fun. And
I like to make things entertaining as well as educational.
And I knew it would be, but I mean, this has been more fun than I even expected it would be. And the debate and getting to try to get to as much truth as we possibly
especially the meat of what you're bringing.
Right. That's what we're bringing in here. I think is so cool. And hopefully it's beneficial to you as well.
You guys enjoyed it. Like, share.
Tell people how to get a hold of you.
Hey, again, thanks, Jay.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Doing it.
Absolutely. It was always fun.
My name is Paul Fitts, and it's FITTS. You can reach me on my cell anytime at 919-612-0043. That's 919-612-0043. Or you can reach me on email at pfitts@advantagelending.com. That's pfitts@advantagelending.com.
Thanks, Paul. Hey, folks, this is the show. You know what I say to you every week? You had a lot of choices. You chose us. Thanks for doing that. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube.
Like, share.
Wherever, like and share. Wherever you are watching the show, like and share. Wherever you may listen to the show on podcast, give us a 5-star review and share as well. We appreciate that. It helps us a great deal. Also, if you've got topics or things that you'd like us to discuss on the show, please feel free to reach out to me. It's jay@lindacraft.com. That's JAY@LINDACRAFT.com. We'll be happy to entertain ideas for the show. We're always looking for great ideas, things that interest you. We'd love to do them.
Send in a headline or an article.
Yeah, send in a headline article. We'll be happy to discuss it. As I say to you every week, you know what that is. Thank you so much. And
Ciao, everybody. That's it.